Hi everybody, Shannon here. I need to talk about financial acuity for a minute. I had some conversations today about, when is our financial acuity at its highest? And many of you will be surprised to learn that our best financial acuity is when we are between the ages of 53 and 55 years old. Not 65, not 75, between 53 and 55. That's when we make the best financial decisions. What that means for our brains is that as we age, as we get older, our financial acuity, our ability to make good financial decisions declines. Another important fact is the dementia process is a 20-year process. It's not a 10-year process. A lot of people have thought from diagnosis to death, that's when we see the actual diagnosis and then eventual brain changes, sometimes between 7 and 10 years. Those issues related to what happens before the diagnosis is usually when we see things like exploitation and susceptibility to scams. What I see a lot of is this inability to assess risk and inability to understand the difference between the truth and a lie. What the research tells us is that this is because there's a thinning of the cortical insula, right, temple up and back, that affects executive function. Not a doctor. I've just talked to a lot of researchers on the brain and reviewed a couple of really good research studies that tell us that people who are exploitable also have a thinning of the cortical insula. So that basically means that these issues related to really listening to something and making a good decision, so listening to the risks of receiving $1 million, but having to write a check for $2,500 to get the million, there's a disconnect between the risk associated with giving the $2,500 in exchange for the million. And also the scams, I have a situation currently, and the facts are truly astounding that our client would believe that what's being told to her is true. That all factors into these changes in the brain that occur over a long time period that have yet to be fully vetted in research. There's a lot of research going on now, but what we know is that there's this time period before a diagnosis of dementia is made where we see these changes in susceptibility to scams and exploitation. So I encourage you, think very carefully about decisions being made. Bounce them off somebody. If you're in an age range or if you're just making some bad financial decisions for yourself that you wouldn't have made previously, think about encouraging others to give feedback on decisions before you click the send button or send the check, or even click on things that you're unaware of where the links are going to take you. But also with parents, if you start to see those bad decisions being made, it usually doesn't happen in a vacuum. It usually happens 7 times before it's either stopped or before our person runs out of money. And I see it a lot. So I just wanted to give a little update on financial acuity and the exploitable brain. Thanks. Good to see you guys.